where do we get to practice imagining? And how do we do that together? It was in the fall of 2019 that I came to Bilbao, and with Judith Hemming, the constellation therapist, we both came here to get to know the history of this place and its narratives, family by family, person by person. We would get into circles and we would do constellations in which we would hear about what was hurting people, what people were having a hard time with. And it was in this process that we began hearing from all kinds of folks that there was heartache, and that heartache really came from generational trauma. From my understanding, from hearing all of these stories, it really begins with the Civil War in the 1930s and 40s, where there was so much violence and its aftermath, right? When we think about all of the people who were killed, all of the ETA, the ETA. But when I think about that narrative, I think about the challenges of my own family back in the mountains of Medellin in Colombia, and the history of racial violence in the United States where I now live. There's generational trauma everywhere, all over the world. We don't name these things with each other. We don't name that pain. We don't name those fears. We don't name that history. And it is until we can actually begin to address and see these things together, honor all of the people who have passed away. It is only until then that we can actually begin to create and collaborate on the earth and the future that is healthy for everyone. As a young boy growing up in a Catholic family in a very conservative construct in Colombia, middle class, I was thought of by my own family as being an abomination because I was effeminate, because I spoke the way that I spoke. And when I think about feeling like I didn't belong in my own family, I think my art practice evolved from seeking out acceptance and celebration of difference. What I've been doing all over the world with all of my projects is meeting people and saying, hey, who are you? And this is who I am. What do you think? Do you accept this? Because I accept that. Can you tell me a little bit about how you are and where you come from so that maybe we can get to know each other? It's been a process of getting to know human to human, the beauty that exists in the world. And in finding that beauty externally, I've been able to find it in myself. And so even to this moment, I'm 41 years old, I'm still working towards that self-love and that acceptance. And the Wellbeing Project and the creation of the Hospital for the Soul is really a creation for myself. In one of the constellation therapies here in Bilbao, there was a woman, her name is Anne, who is from Elorio, a nearby town. And she literally said out loud that when she was listening to all these stories in her own, she said, gosh, I think what we need now is a hospital for the soul, a place where the rain can wash away all the blood of all of our pain. And those words really stuck with me. They sat with me, and in thinking about what that was, I thought, gosh, what is this hospital and how does it manifest? And I understood by hearing and listening and being in conversation with people here that a hospital for the soul was really a sequence of spaces in which our encounters with nature transform us. From the constellation therapy session to this moment where we have a built space, it was really critical that I engage with the people from here who know the stories of this place and who have lived in this place and who understand it in a way that I could never. In the fall of 2021, I had the opportunity to come to Bilbao again and spend time with these folks, and we actually spent a week interviewing trees. From the mountains to the river to the ocean, I spent time drawing and touching the bark of trunks and getting to know the texture of leaves. And I went all over the city walking and understanding the spatial dynamics of places, because what I was really interested in creating was a temple to a tree. I ended up right in the middle of Bilbao in a park called Doña Casilda, Parquea, where we are sitting here today. This tree to me is beautiful and it tells a lot of stories, but it's a magnolia tree. In my practice, I really intentionally invite people to question what's possible and to imagine, to honor that which they don't know about. I will tell you that most of my life I was judged for the way that I walked, for the way that I talked. And I think I so often, even to this day, I judge all the time too, because it's a kind of default. What happens when we let go of those ideas of what's right and wrong, or beautiful and ugly? To be able to understand my own suffering and to allow others to see it, I think has allowed me to connect meaningfully with everyone I meet. And so when I think people are like, oh, your work is so beautiful, it's so amazing, I am often like, yeah, but it was only possible because I let other people come into my life and make it with me. The invitation is that we can create hospitals for the soul everywhere, where we're not judging each other, where we're coming in open-hearted, trying to understand better, trying to see from another perspective, trying to let go of our assumptions, because often our assumptions don't serve us. A dear friend and mentor always says to me, we are each other's medicine, we humans. I love one thing, in constellation therapy, we talk about the notion that when we're asking a question and we don't understand, we're looking for the question inside of here. And one of my favorite things about this corner of this hospital that's just beginning is that the invitation is to open up and to think, gosh, where does the answers could be out there? If we can only open up and see much more about what is possible and what exists beyond the framework that we have individually, that's the answer. It is about opening up and allowing others to come into our lives and to change us. Having this particular tree reflect and multiply and allow people to come in and walk in and to be inviting, because eventually what you realize is that you see yourself and you see all of these greens, all of the variations of greens, all of the variations of blues in the sky. Everything that is in this construct becomes a key to open up things in ourselves that eventually lead to healing.